When people recommend anime for beginners, it's always the same shows. You hear Attack on Titan, Full Metal Alchemist, Naruto. And to be clear, those are all great shows. But if I'm being honest, if you're used to HBO caliber shows, they're not always the best place to start. If you like the writing in The Last of Us, the politics of House of the Dragon, or the character work in Succession, here are 10 anime that actually hit the same way. Most fantasy ends when the villain dies. Frieren Beyond Journey's End starts there. The hero saves the world, time passes, and Frieren, an immortal elf, starts to realize she didn't fully appreciate the people she traveled with. To her, 10 years felt like nothing. To them, it was their entire life. And that's really what this show's about. Not the magic, but time. Everyone's talking about this show right now, and for once, the hype is actually deserved. It's really a story about realizing too late what something meant to you. And it slowly forces her to confront something uncomfortable, that she didn't understand what those relationships meant until they were already gone. It's quiet, reflective, and hits in a way most fantasy never even tries to. If you want something slower and more thoughtful, this is an easy starting point. But if Frieren is about the melancholy of peace, Vinland Saga is about the absolute brutality of war. At first, it looks like a Viking revenge story. A kid watches his father get killed and grows up obsessed with getting revenge. Pretty simple setup. But what makes this show stand out is what it becomes. Because at a certain point, it stops being about revenge entirely and turns into a story about what happens after you've built an entire life around violence. What do you do when the thing that gave your life meaning is gone? There are no powers here, no fantasy shortcuts, just grounded storytelling, brutal consequences, and one of the best character arcs you'll find in any medium. If you've ever tried anime before and bounced off of it, because of the yelling, the exaggerated reactions, or just how weird it can feel sometimes, that's completely fair. If you're used to shows like Succession or The Bear, anime can feel like it's operating on a completely different frequency. But the shows on this list, even when they look chaotic on the surface, aren't really about that. They rely more on subtext, atmosphere, and character than the stuff people usually associate with anime. That leads us to Mob Psycho 100. This one is the don't judge a book by its cover pick. I actually dropped it the first time I watched it because I didn't get the art style. I'm really glad I gave it another shot though. The art is experimental and wild, but the writing is more grounded than almost anything on this list. It isn't really a show about flashy powers. It's about a kid who has them, but also doesn't think they make him special. He's just trying to become a better person instead. It looks strange at first, but underneath the chaos, it's a deeply sincere story about self-worth that will completely win you over. If you want something a bit lighter, Spy Family is probably the easiest show on this list to recommend. It's about a spy, an assassin, and a telepath pretending to be a normal family. It's funny, it's light, and it's just so easy to watch. If you're not sure where to start, this is probably the safest pick out there. If you like mystery shows, The Apothecary Diaries is a great pick. This show is not about magic. It's about poison, politics, and people being dangerous in very quiet ways. It follows a girl in an imperial palace who uses her knowledge of medicine to solve crimes. Most of the mysteries aren't supernatural. They're just people being clever or cruel, and the tension doesn't come from the action. It comes from the fact that one wrong move in that environment can ruin your life. We've got a solid list so far, but these next 5 are a little different. Pluto. If The Last of Us made you question what makes us human, Pluto takes that question into a neo-noir future. It's a murder mystery that feels closer to Westworld than anything else in anime. Odd Taxi's a masterclass in tight, claustrophobic writing. It looks like a cartoon about animals, but it's actually a Tarantino-style crime thriller, where every single conversation connects. And the payoff is surgically precise. Erased is for the people who love the atmosphere of True Detective. It's a grounded, 12-episode suspense story about going back in time to stop a tragedy. It's the definition of bingeable. No lie, I watched the whole thing in one sitting. But if you're tired of the high stakes and just want a story that hurts, A Silent Voice is for the A24 fans. It's a beautifully directed drama about redemption that hits harder than most live-action cinema. And finally, if you want a show that burns bright and ends in a total emotional wreck, Edgerunners is the ultimate rise and fall story. Think Scorsese pacing mixed with brutal high-tech dystopia. It doesn't waste a single second, it does not pull its punches. Just remember, anime isn't a genre. It's just a medium. And if you've been avoiding it because it felt too over the top, these are the shows that prove it doesn't have to be. The typical beginner starter pack doesn't work for everybody. But for those who want subtext, atmosphere, and grounded drama, this is your entry point. Which of these felt most like your kind of show? Let me know your pick in the comments.